Hello and welcome, everyone. In 2010, Julie Beck said, "Women are like lionesses at the gate of the home. Whatever happens in that home and family happens because she cares about it and it matters to her. She guards that gate."
Welcome to the Lioness at the Door podcast, where we discuss timely, healthy habits and everything else in our thinking, planning, and doing as we each stand as lionesses at the door of our homes and our lives. We're just two regular girls talking about daily challenges from the perspective of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Amy Rasmussen, a teacher by profession, a wife and mother by choice, an optimist by nature, and happy by design. And I'm here with my friend Jackie.
I am Jackie Sorensen, a wife, mother, grandmother, and holistic health coach for women of faith.
This month, we've been talking about using the powerful tool of declarations. Creating a declaration is the practice of intentionally choosing words to rehearse and even memorize, to give ourselves strength and perspective, to build our faith and our dedication to truth, which is the knowledge of things as they really are. So it's a practice that can help us choose our thoughts and choose thoughts that will actually serve us, and hopefully also banish the negative thoughts. And that doesn't mean erase the negative thoughts. It means that when they come, because they do come, we can do something about it, right? Now, something that is crazy that is just timely for us is that Valentine's Day is like a prime time for fiery darts, for negative thoughts, right? Like I just saw a post the other day on Facebook, and it's obviously from someone who's single, and she'd just been posting different kind of funny, but kind of not, things about Valentine's Day from the perspective of someone who is single. So it seems, though, that Valentine's Day can be problematic, whether you're married or single, whether you're in a relationship or not, old or young, surrounded by people or alone in a room. A lot of it has to do with expectation, right? And then disappointment. A lot of it has to do with probably victim mentality. So we thought, as a kind of a bonus episode this week, we would just dive right into real life and how to use declarations as a way to combat the negative thoughts. And these can be proactively created right before Valentine's Day, or if you find yourself in the midst of that, maybe not anticipation, but that, what's the word, the dread of Valentine's Day, that you can start catching those fiery darts and turn them around.
Yeah.
So Jackie, where do you want to start with all that?
Well, I think maybe we should start with how to recognize when we're in that mindset, when we're in the victim mindset, because that is not always easy. And sometimes we don't catch it until we're way down the road. And it's kind of hard to return,
Right. I think it has to do with what you talked about recently, and just assuming that our thoughts are presenting reality and assuming our thoughts are presenting truth.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's why we don't question it. That's why we don't recognize victim mindset.
Right.
Because we're just like, nope, this really is, this is it.
So. Yep. He really did mean that. He really didn't do this. He really said this.
And it's the only thing he could have meant.
Yes.
Right. It is the only possible interpretation of the fact that he hasn't even mentioned Valentine's Day or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And we could talk a little bit too about the law of expectation, which is just an invitation into a hole if we misuse it.
And what did you call it again? The law of
expectation. Yeah.
Okay.
But back to the victim mindset, the big red flag, this is how we know that we've gone there, is simply we feel miserable. And I'm not talking about, like last time we talked about, the difference between wallowing in negativity versus grieving. Those are two completely different things. We need to experience grief. We need to allow ourselves to go through that process. It's an actual process of emotional healing. We need to go through it, not to ignore it, not to turn it off. But if we're talking about just nasty little negative things that are popping into our heads that oftentimes come as like this narration that's going on about how other people think about you, or what they're thinking right now, or what that look on her face meant, or, you know, a myriad of things. It's like this ongoing narration that has nothing to do with reality. It's literally just a lens that we're looking through. But the ticket, the way to know, is when I'm irritated, angry, feeling very inconvenienced, out of patience, sad, lonely, depressed, you know, whatever. Just this is the flag to me that somewhere in my thinking, I made a decision. And the decision was that in this scenario, whatever the scenario is with this person or these people, I'm the victim.
Yes.
I am playing the victim role. And as soon as we go into that role, our perception of the world and everyone shifts out of our favor. So for instance, there have been times, and I know you've probably experienced this, Amy, and probably everyone listening has experienced this. Sometimes we have that moment or hour or hours or day or whatever of feeling sorry to ourselves. Victim moment, right?
Yep.
Because it turns our attention inward to us, and it kind of makes us blind. And then we've had the experience of recognizing, oh yeah, I'm really turned inward right now. I really want to think about other people. And then we, you know, crack open that pain and actually go outside ourselves. And then we have this lens of, oh, there are other people in the world. Wow. There are other people who need things. Wow. There are even people who live in much more difficult circumstances than I do.
Right.
Like there's a widow that lives up the road that's really struggling because she just lost her spouse of 60 years. Those moments of aha, that's when we make the new decision, right? We come out of our own little tiny world of I'm the victim here to who can I bless? Who can I serve? Who does God want to use me to bless? And then my world just gets massive. This big thing unfolds. So just recognizing, I think, is the big deal. Because as long as we are in denial, if you want to call it that, or if we're just in a state of unawareness, there's no place to make a decision there.
Right.
But when we come into awareness, oh, it occurs to us, I'm feeling really miserable. I have a choice to make. Then awareness brings up this moment of, oh, I can make a new decision.
Yep. I'm thinking with that list of those feelings that can be the red flag. One feeling that came to mind is that feeling of being powerless. Powerless to change your circumstances. Because as you were talking about that ability to think outward, my mind also went to those times when sometimes the thinking outward actually is still focused on the self and recognizing, you know what? The reason I'm feeling all these feelings is because I haven't taken time for myself in the past 3 weeks, or I have been going to bed late consistently. I'm exhausted, right? And so I absolutely agree that being able to look outward and recognize there's other people in the world, there's other needs. There's also that moment of not wallowing in, I am a victim here. I am powerless to change my circumstances. But it's almost like that standing up on your own 2 feet again and saying, I can do something. I can do something about the situation. I can adjust how I'm sleeping, or I can adjust my diet so that I'm eating foods that actually give me energy instead of just suck the little energy I have out of me.
Yes, I'm
Right?
so glad. Yes,
Okay.
I'm so glad you brought that up. And it goes so well with the second thought of the victim thing that I was having, which was we can give in a place of victimhood. Like, I want to get something. I want someone to show me a little attention or whatever. So I'm going to give with the expectation,
Right.
then I'm going to get something. And it's always fruitless. It's always deceptive, and it sets us up for greater disappointment. But I think the thing that we can do goes along with what you just said. We want to give when we recognize that here's this whole wide world and we want to be part of it, and we want to be a positive part of it. We also need to be giving from a place of fullness. And so what you said, am I getting enough sleep? Am I exhausted? Am I eating well? Am I paying attention to my own needs so that I can give from a place of fullness? But along with that is, where's my love tank?
Right.
Am I feeling loved? Am I connecting with God? Am I drinking in the spirit of the beauty and the truth of scripture and prophetic counsel that is filling me up with hope and peace and love, so I can feel loved? And then when I give to my neighbor, it's not sucking me dry. And besides that, that's also kind of another red flag when we're giving in kind of an imitation love way.
Mm-hmm.
That's what sucks us dry.
Right. A martyr. You become a martyr instead of someone who is giving freely.
Yeah, right. Right. But the love comes first, the feeling I am loved, I am valued.
Right.
That comes first. And that's part of our self-care, right? That's what allows us to give to our families and to our neighbors and friends.
And that is one of the things that I've been thinking about in relation to Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. And it's something that anyone can do. We can reframe Valentine's Day. We can take it away for ourselves, right? We can just say, this is not about what someone else can do for me to show that I'm loved. This is all about doing things that fill me up so that I can show up in the world like I want to show up. So maybe you choose to celebrate Valentine's Day. You're like, what are the favorite things I do? What are the things that fill me? And you plan for it and you're looking forward to it. And that's what you do. Maybe you're a mom. And so you're like, well, I'm obviously not taking a whole day. I have little kids or whatever, or there's stuff on the schedule. Well, then you could do one thing, right? You could do one thing that just feels very nurturing. And I think the gift that women have to nurture, which is to help people develop and grow, includes ourselves. We can nurture ourselves as well as others. And so I also think that even if you do one thing, then I think as a mother, you could also look at, we can celebrate the fact that we are a family, that we have all the mess of family, but underlying all the mess of family is this feeling of love. So that's an outward turning that has nothing to do with, someone else showing you love. So those are just two things that come to mind, two concrete things to try, to think of those ways that you can fill your own love tank. Because if we're waiting for other people to fill it, we'll be waiting a long time, and we'll just sit there in the well of victimhood.
And we sit there as an object.
Yes. Yep. Because we're not acting. We're not an agent. So I think it's a huge thing to just reframe it and think, okay, let's say it is a day of love. I'm going to see all the hearts. And when I see the hearts, I'm going to think, how can I show myself a little love today so that I can show up in the world in the way that I want to?
I love it.
And I like that a lot more. That just feels better. Even if you are receiving things from your children or from your spouse. And that's another thing. Why can't we teach children, this is a day it'll be so fun. We're going to show everyone in the family in some secret way that we love each other. Right?
Yeah.
Why not? That's my thought. All right. So I didn't know if you wanted to move from talking about that place of victimhood to that law of expectation. Is this a place to transition, or do you want to talk a little bit more about victimhood first?
I think we covered victimhood for today.
Okay.
That's probably enough.
Mm-hmm. It will keep coming up because it's easy to just fall there.
It'll be the common theme.
Yes, it will.
So the law of expectation, and this comes from the Real Love books by Dr. Greg Bear. And he talks about the fact that this is a law because when we oppose it, it leads us to great unhappiness. And it is simply that we don't expect any person or group to love us or do, X, Y, or Z.
So I'm hoping for a little clarification because my mind went two different directions. One was, are you talking about, is the suggestion that we not have that expectation?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Let me share this a little bit from Dr. Bear. But first we have to start with the law of choice. That comes before. It'll help our understanding anyway. Okay. So the law of choice says everyone has the right to choose what he or she says or does.
Mhm.
Would you agree?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So along those lines, the law of expectations is we never have the right to expect anyone to do anything for us, or never expect any one person or group of people to love you. And that is because it naturally follows the law of choice. He says, because if you have the right to make your own choices, how could I possibly expect you to change your choices to meet my expectations?
Right.
Okay. So it's just kind of saying we have to live by the truth that we all get to choose. And by our expecting other people to do certain things, particularly as women, when we don't want to say anything about it, we just want them to read our minds. That's a double whammy, right? I'm expecting you to do something. You have no idea what it is. And you're going to be a fail. This is going to be a fail.
Right.
You don't read my mind and do exactly what I want you to do. It's against the law. It's against the law of happiness.
Right. Well, it doesn't work for us to be able to have that law of choice that we get to choose what we think.
Yes.
But that expectation, if we have the expectation, then we're basically saying, but you do not. Your choices have to fall in line with what I want. And that's why it's such a violation of something that's God-given, right? That's why there's the law of choice, because God gave us agency, period. It's there. So when we try and take that away by having the expectation, we have problems.
Yeah. And we really, really want it when it's us.
Right.
And we really, really want to move the world around so that it doesn't pertain to other people.
Right. And it doesn't mean we can't make a request to someone else.
Sure.
Of course we can. But that doesn't mean they're going to do it. It doesn't mean that we don't have a hope. We can have a healthy hope, but hope is help is a healthy thing. Expectation is not. And I think that's the difference.
Yeah, it shoots us in the foot quite a bit. And it's really, really hard on relationships.
Yeah. And it's just there. It's just there. And so we've got to figure out how to navigate it. And I think how to diminish, like have fewer instances, right, where it happens.
Right.
Fewer instances of victimhood, fewer instances of violating that law of expectation, that law of choice. It's just nice to bring it down to fewer instances, because we're not expecting people to go from where they are now to now I have no expectation. Like I'm never a victim again. That's not super realistic.
Yeah, well, life is just day to day and minute to minute. And we learn a little bit here and a little bit there, and we're experiencing.
Yeah.
We're experiencing what it feels like to be miserable. And sometimes it takes us a long old while to go into it over and over and over again until we finally say, I really don't like to feel that way. I think I'm going to do something else.
Yep. And then to actually do it. Right? Because deciding you want to do something else is also different than putting in the work and effort to do it each day, a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Until it becomes your norm and your
Right.
habit.
Right. So can I say something that's happening at Lioness that I just want to remind or tell or something? So last month we started the Lioness Lifestyle program, which is just a simple assignment, a couple of sheets of assignment that you get each month that helps you to learn these principles and gives you baby steps. Some of them are more baby than others. Like,
right, of course.
One of them is like, start reading this book. That's
right.
a real baby step, but kind of,
Yeah.
But they're beautiful. Every month is a beautiful thing. And I would just love to give that little consistent support. It's not coaching, it doesn't have coaching involved. But there are links. You can go as deep or as little as you want to do. Lots of information there, but you can literally just state each month has 4 little challenges, and they're life-changing. They are amazing. So it would be a really lovely baby step to start Lioness Lifestyle if you haven't done coaching, or if you have done coaching and you want to maintain. It'd be so nice to have that monthly reminder. You have your assignments, you're staying on course, you're journaling, you're writing about the things that you're learning. It's just kind of a go at your own pace kind of coaching without anyone else. If you want to do it, just by yourself, or sign up with a girlfriend,
right?
Or your sister or your mom or something, and walk through it. I'm so excited about it. And the other thing is that each month you get to download this beautiful sheet that's called a tradition tracker. And it's just a form that you can sit down with your family and brainstorm and create ideas about the traditions that you want to have as a family every month. And at the end of the year, you'll have 12 of them. You can put them in plastic sleeves in a binder, and you can, next January, February, you're going to say, oh, remember, this is what we did last year, and this is what we want to continue to do. Just awesome.
Yeah, it's just so nice to have those things where there's some concrete things to do that will help with your thought processes and your actions, and just a little bit at a time, right? A little bit.
It's not a big commitment, not a big time commitment, or I have to be in this meeting, or I have to answer to the coach. I have to bring my homework and I have to say yes or whatever. Right. So just a nice, no pressure way to begin.
Yes. Yes. You can find that, of course, at lionessatthedoor.com. So go check it out, and at least just maybe make yourself a goal that if that sounds of interest to you, that you are just going to do that as part of your Valentine celebration to fill your love tank. You're at least going to go look at it, see if it feels like the right timing for you. And if it does, that would be great. I'm wondering if before we leave, if we could just throw out some ideas, kind of a menu, always a menu. This is not a to-do list for you because you're in charge of your own to-do list and your own what I want to-do list, but a menu of some things you could do to help yourself start from a place of fullness as we think about Valentine's as a time to make sure your love tank is full. And I guess that would be kind of the takeaway today. If you can use Valentine's Day to think about how you can fill your love tank so you can start from a place of fullness, I think that feels very liberating.
Yes, absolutely.
It just completely changes your focus. So I have a couple thoughts that I jotted down, so I might jump in, and then Jackie, jump in anytime if you have some menu items. And just a reminder, menu items. And if you've had something today that you think, I think if I did this, sweet, go do it, right? All right, so some ideas that came to mind. One is every time you see a heart, that can just be a trigger to show yourself a little love. And hearts are going to be everywhere, right? So you're going to get that reminder over and over. You can use the heart as, maybe you can say, well, I don't want to do it every time I see a heart. I'm going to go crazy. So you might say every time I see a Cupid, right? So you can say something that you're going to see a little less often. That maybe that's always the time to say something nice to yourself, because that's something that can be done without preparation. It can be done right at the moment, that you can say to yourself, you know what? I went to work today, or I got dressed today, or I changed from my pajamas I slept in to a clean pair of pajamas to be a mom today, which I think counts as getting dressed, just for the record. When you're a mom of young children, or if you sleep in yoga pants and you change it to a clean pair of yoga pants for the day, mission accomplished.
Okay, can I interject?
Yes.
No sarcasm. No sarcasm in the nice things. And the nice
Absolutely.
things can be loving things. It can be, hey, like the other day, I can't remember. I was brushing my teeth. I don't know, something. And I was doing my declarations because that's when I do them, night and morning. And just the thought, came to me, to myself, Jackie, you did some hard things today. Way to go.
Yeah, nice.
It's love, it's not just, okay, I did this,
Right. It's not just doing.
Way to go, self. You made it through that difficult conversation. You handled yourself well. You stayed in love. That's awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
Or I quickly heard myself going in the wrong direction and I had to say, I'm sorry, and repent. Great. Wonderful.
Right. And I think apologizing to yourself is also filling your tank, right? Helping yourself come from a place of fullness. I'm sorry I beat you up this morning about how you looked. Look at you out and moving. I think some positive things. I think you could identify maybe something that you struggle with. So if you struggle with body image, then maybe you get really specific. And when you see a heart, you say something kind and loving there. My feet get me where I need to go.
I'm grateful for my feet. Yes.
Yes, I'm grateful for my feet. These hands made food today to nourish my body, right? I think there are lots of specifics. Or I am thankful for my eyes that saw that heart, right? It could be just that.
Sure.
If you want to maybe go a little bit deeper into this, I think you could, even now when you're hearing this, you could write a few Valentine's Day declarations. So that could look like every time you see a heart, you just say, I am loved. Yes. Or if you want a reminder of God's love, I know God loves me.
Yes.
Right? Or if there's a friend or a loved one that you just feel nurtured by them, you can say, I know my sister loves me. I know Jackie loves me. Whoever that person is that really allows you to just feel like, okay, I am me with that person, the good and the bad. They love me. I think you can put that in there. Now, if you're on your own and you're feeling especially lonely, I think that one can be hard. And that's why just I am loved, period, can really work as that declaration. Can you think of some other declarations that people might be able to place in here specifically in the way of finding the hearts, right? Seeing the hearts and being able to program their thinking to help them get to a place of fullness?
Well, one thing is, I think that, you just said something, it triggered my brain and now I'm missing it. Fullness can be in a memory as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in the here and now.
Mm-hmm.
And actually that is one of the exercises that we do. If you're having a hard time coming up with the here and now, when you just said, maybe you're alone. Well, never alone. We have the memory of the love that we have experienced. We need to get really good at pulling that up.
Yeah.
Because we all have lonely moments. It doesn't matter how many people are around you. We all have that experience. And sometimes it's a temptation, right? To just feel it and then move into it and stay in it.
Mm-hmm.
But just yesterday, I was thinking about my grandparents and about the safe haven that they created just by being themselves. It wasn't that they thought to themselves, wow, when Jackie comes here, I really want her to feel X, Y, or Z. It wasn't that, they weren't that cognizant of that. I'm convinced, I'm sure. It was just, they were being themselves. They were being good, genuine, kind people.
Right. And they loved you.
And they loved me. And they didn't criticize me. And they just, that's the feeling that I remember. And it can bring me such comfort and peace just thinking about them. Just thinking, I can even in my mind, I can go sit down at the table with Granny and just just be there in my memory. And it's a beautiful thing. It doesn't have to be here and now.
No, I really like that. I think that's really important because I think at the hardest moments, that might be when it's hard to dredge up the courage to say to yourself, I am loved, because at the very end of that just keeps going, but I don't know how, right? So
Yeah.
having that memory makes a huge difference. I think I'm going to move on to some things you could do if you want to be a little more outward during Valentine's Day that I think can also help you come from a place of fullness. So one thought is that you can just choose to spend February, or at least Valentine's Day, as a day to spread love to strangers, to people you know. You just choose to spread it. Right now, I think that requires coming from a place of fullness. So you'll have to decide where you're at. But I think that could be really fun. My children and I one time went and we got a bunch of skewers, and we put little signs on the skewers about this one family, things that we appreciated and admired. And at night we went and stuck them in their yard. And they actually had a huge window, so I think they were able to peek out and they figured out it was us. But later when I visited them, those signs were hung up across that big window on the inside of their home. And I had heard later, like, I never thought that I cared about gifts. And then someone gave me the gift that mattered. And for this mom, and I didn't know that, right? I was just like trying to teach my children how to show love to others. But for whatever reason, that was really meaningful at that time for her children and for that family. So just so you know, you could do it if you're into surprise and sneak mode, stealth mode. You could do something there. I think it'd be something simple, like when you see a heart, you smile at someone. You smile at the next stranger you see and say hello, because so often we're down into our phones or we're just distracted by what we're doing. So it could be simple. And then I also, and this goes with your memories, I think you could be making a list throughout the month, all the ways that you feel loved and have felt loved, right? So that can be something like a young girl who I work with said, whenever I have a day that goes sideways, but I go outside and see a beautiful sunset, it makes things okay. And so for her, that sunset is a way of feeling the love. So I just think making that list and doing that gathering.
I love that, because that puts that lens on you. Now you're actually actively looking.
Right.
Actively going through memories and looking at the world in a gathering mode. And that is fullness to begin with.
Right.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Right. So anyway, those are the things that I jotted down. That's as far as what I call the idea beast went so far. I'm sure when we get done recording, the idea beast will continue, because that's how I work. And we would love to hear things that you come up with. What are you going to do to make this Valentine's Day a day to make sure that you can come from a place of fullness? How can you show that love to yourself? What declarations can you use? Because I think these things can help other people. And here's the thing, Valentine's Day comes every year, so we can always feature the ideas next year, because we never know when it's going to be a hard year for one of us.
Yep, for sure.
So we'd love to hear from you. Remember that you can comment just down below this video on YouTube. We would love to have you subscribe to our channel. Right now we're on the channel of Lioness at the Door. There may be things in the future where we're at other places too, but that's where we are now. You can also reach out to us if you happen to know us. You can reach out to us personally. You can comment on our Facebook posts, or you can always email Jackie at jackie.sorensen@gmail.com. That's jacque.sorenson@gmail.com. I'm Amy Rasmussen.
And I'm Jackie Sorensen. And as Gandhi said, in a gentle way, you can shake the world.
Thanks for joining us. Happy Valentine's Day.
See ya.